Hello everybody! In this mini-lecture, we will discuss the features of academic writing. Just as there are differences in the way we use language for speech and for writing, there are also differences in the way we write for different situations. Academic writing uses language in a way that differs from other types of writing. In general, good academic writing should be clear, precise, concise, cautious, and formal. When thinking about what makes a good sentence, it's important to put ourselves in the shoes of our readers. Readers want to read with ease. They do not want to wrestle with your sentences. Therefore, clarity is an essential element of good style and can be put as the first feature of academic writing. To achieve better clarity, one principle to follow is to use simple language. Avoid sentences which are needlessly complex because such sentences are hard to read and digest. Complex phrases are also difficult to read. For instance, phrases that string adjectives in front of nouns can be rather indigestible. The second principle for achieving clarity is to use concrete words. When writing academic papers, student writers tend to rely heavily on abstract words because they believe abstraction makes their writing academic. This is very wrong. Abstraction can often obscure meaning and confuse the reader. No matter how much deep thinking it embodies, a piece of writing is meaningless unless readers can understand it. Another principle to follow is to express actions in verbs. Many student writers prefer to use nouns when verbs can actually work better. Again, they believe such is a way to sound academic. But again, they are wrong. Excessive use of nouns in situations where verbs can do better may result in wordiness and confusion in logic. Now please pause the video to take a look at the following 3 pairs of sentences and judge which sentence in each pair is clearer in meaning. It's obvious that for each pair, the second sentence is clearer in meaning than the first one. For pair 1, the second sentence is better because it replaces the complex phrase economical thermal oil replacement cost performance with the more intelligible expression, the cost of replacing the thermal oil. For pair 2, the second sentence is clearer because it changes an abstract word representation into a more concrete word, reflect. For pair 3, the second sentence, which uses verbs such as fail, decide, and dismiss, is shorter and easier to read than the first one that relies heavily on nouns like inability, decision, and dismissal. Of course, in academic writing, there are incidences where abstract nouns are inevitable to the sentence. Some abstract nouns can make references to a previous sentence, such as these arguments and this finding. Or they may be concepts important to the topic under study, such as motivation and globalization. In the cases involving actions, however, verbs rather than nouns should be the first option. The second feature of academic writing is precision. Precision is a particularly important consideration when you are writing a research paper. Without precise language, your writing may fail to communicate exactly what you did with your research. To achieve precision, you should follow 2 principles. The first principle is choose the right word. You should always choose the right word for your intended meaning. For example, you should not choose the word weight when you mean mass. You should not choose the word comprise when you mean compose. Please pause the video to compare the following 3 sentences and judge which one is the best. Among the three sentences, the third one communicates the most exact meaning. Meanwhile, compared to sentence 1, sentence 2 is better because comprise literally means embrace, and in this case, compose is the right word. In writing, you are often told to use synonyms to avoid repetition. However, you must be careful in using synonyms because even though some words have similar meanings, yet they may not be interchangeable. The second principle you should follow is use specific words. Precision in academic writing means being specific. If you read the following two sentences, some options seem capable of developing more quickly than others for a given investment. Some promise costs which are lower than others. You will immediately come up with such questions as how much quickly do some options develop, and how much lower in cost are some options than others? These questions are natural reaction to the general terms used in these two sentences like some, quickly, and lower that fail to give specific meaning. Sentences with such words tend to be general statements unsupported with specific numbers and examples, and consequently the writing floats ungrounded. Now please pause the video to compare the following two sentences and judge which one is more precise. Compared with the first sentence, the second sentence improves the precision in language by specifying the problems. That is, high winds had cracked the solar mirrors, and measures, that is, stowing them in a horizontal position during thunderstorms. Writing that relies solely on general statements is empty. Being specific, however, does not mean that you remove all the general statements from your writing. General statements are important to give readers an overview of what will come or a summary of what has been said. Being specific means all your general statements are well supported with specific examples and details. The third feature of academic writing we need to discuss today is conciseness. Vigorous writing is concise. A sentence should contain no unnecessary words. However, one big problem in student writing is wordiness. Many student writers use phrases when a single word will do. Now let's look at some phrases. Consensus of opinion, future prospects, mental awareness, mutual agreement, mutual cooperation, utmost perfection. These are some most commonly used expressions, yet they have the redundancy problem. Actually, these phrases can be trimmed into consensus, prospects, awareness, agreement, cooperation, perfection. What about the following verb phrases? Further strengthen, cancel out, first begin, start out, reconsider again, continue to remain, still persist. Are they redundant expressions? Yes, these phrases can be shortened into strengthen, cancel, begin, start, reconsider, remain, persist. To remove redundancy, I have three pieces of advice. Number 1, avoid the overuse of catch-all terms. Catch-all terms are usually words with general meaning, such as fact, aspect, factor, matter, thing, sort, and kind. Overuse of these words leads to redundancy. Number 2, avoid the overuse of relative structures. Removal of some relative structures can result in brevity. Number 3, remove all the unnecessary words, words that do not contribute new information to the text. To be and being, for example, are such words, and very often they can be safely removed. Now pause the video and revise the following sentences for better brevity. Okay, here's the possible revision. You may pause the video to read it more closely. The fourth important feature of academic writing is cautiousness. In other words, when you make a claim in your paper, you should not overstate it, because an overstated argument is susceptible to opposition. Indeed, it's necessary for you to make decisions about the strength of the claims you are making. Now please pause the video to read the following paragraph and see how the authors modify the strength of claims they have made in the text. As you may have already noticed, the authors have used some vague words and expressions such as seem, might, more likely, and appear to sound cautious when making claims. Meanwhile, when they want to make comparatively strong claims, they've chosen such words as believe and should. There are various types of words and expressions that can be used to modify the strength of claims. Please pause the video to study them. Such expressions are not used simply for conforming to the conventions of academic writing style. More importantly, they can tone down strong statements to reduce the risk of opposition and face threatening, show accuracy in reporting research results, or decrease the impoliteness brought forth by disagreeing with other researchers. Now let's come to the fifth feature of academic writing, the formality of language. In fact, when it comes to writing in English, there are two main styles, formal and informal. Academic writing is formal in nature. The way we write in academic settings differs greatly from the way we write to a friend. Some student writers, however, can hardly distinguish formal and informal language. Actually, there are some essential differences between formal and informal writing. For example, in informal writing, we may use colloquial words and expressions such as kids, say, awesome, a lot, so. In formal writing, we should use such literary forms as children, claim, wonderful, many, therefore. In informal writing, we may use verb phrases such as look into, go up, put up with, turn down. But formal writing prefers single verbs like examine, increase, tolerate, reject. In informal writing, we can use contractions, for example, can't, won't, shouldn't. But they should be avoided in formal writing. We should write out the full words, for example, cannot, will not, should not. More differences include, in informal writing, we can ask questions, for example, do you know? But in formal writing, we avoid questions and use declarative sentences instead. For example, one may wonder at the question. In informal writing, we often use the active voice. For example, I found that. But in informal writing, we sometimes choose to use the passive voice. For example, it has been found that. Also, informal writing may be written in the first, second, or third person, while formal writing is often written in the third person. Now please pause the video to revise the following sentences for a more formal style. Here is the possible revision. You may pause the video to study it. Okay, as we are coming to the end of today's mini-lecture, let's make a quick review of what we've learned. Today's focus is features of academic writing. Academic writing, first of all, should be clear. This means you should use simple sentences and phrases, use concrete words, and avoid the excessive use of abstract nouns. Secondly, Academic writing should be precise. To improve precision of language, you should learn to use the right word for your intended meaning and to use specific rather than general words. The third feature of academic writing is conciseness, which can be achieved through avoiding the overuse of catch-all terms and relative structures, as well as removing all the unnecessary words. In addition, academic writing should be cautious, and you can use a variety of expressions to modify the strength of the claims you made in your paper. Last but not least, academic writing should be formal, and there are a set of conventions you should follow to make your writing formal. That's all for today. See you next time.